Hello, friends. So, in my last video, I spoke about the characteristics of the woman who is a victim of domestic violence. I talked about some characteristics or personality traits that would make a woman or place her at higher risk to become a victim of domestic violence. And some of those were financial, socioeconomic positioning, the overly responsible woman who wants to take on a lot of responsibilities, the empath who is so compassionate and cares about his feelings, is just highly empathetic lady, and of course a peacekeeper who doesn't want to argue, avoids tries really hard to avoid arguments, which kind of makes her take the position of a doormat, and that increases the chances of a woman being abused, as opposed to the assertive woman who knows her worth, who knows how a man can and cannot treat her, will have the tendency to, at the first sight or at the first experience of any type of domestic violence, to put a halt to it and end it right there. And that's okay. We learn. Sometimes you're compassionate. You are a compassionate and forgiving human being, and you want to give the person a second chance and forgive, and just give them a chance to learn how to love you right. So you stay, hoping that they will change. So now in this video, I will discuss the reasons why women stay in abusive relationships. Domestic violence, as we know, is not always physical, and sometimes it can put a woman in a position of shame, and even that can keep you bound. But I know that one of the reasons, I'm going to just go down the list, and speaking from personal experience, is why women stay. One of the reasons is because they hope that he will change one day. When you meet this person, they're sweet, they're gentle, they're caring. He goes out of his way to make you happy, to do beautiful things for you. So when the domestic violence and the abuse starts, you remember the good guy that you met. You remember that great gentleman that you were with. So you're hoping that he will change. After an episode of abuse, later on he comes with flowers, with apology, with tears. I'm sorry. I never meant to do that. I would never hurt you. And you see that sweetness and that gentleness, and it makes you want to stay in the hope that he will change. So if you've been together for a while and you have invested time in the relationship, you have assets together, you invested time and effort, you know, you live hoping that he would change, and you wait and you wait. And the second reason why women stay is because the empathetic woman and the empathy and the compassion in you wants to help him. When you meet someone and over the time you get to know him and he tells you stories about the traumas that he's been through, the things that have happened to him, and you have this compassion in your heart for him, you want to show him that you are on his team, that you are, that strong woman that's going to stand by her man. And so you remember the sad stories about his life, you remember his struggles, and you want to save him. And that's a beautiful um thing to have as a human being, to want to help others, and especially to want to be able to build up your partner, your husband, and strengthen him and help him with the business and help him with this. But a lot of the reasons why women stay in this situation is because you want to be his savior. um, because you want to be his savior. You remember all the pain and suffering that he went through, so now you have to be loyal, because when you try to leave the last time, he'll tell you something like, "Oh, the last woman left me. My ex-wife did this, and my ex-girlfriend did this, and all the women keep leaving me. Are you going to leave me too?" Imagine what that does to your emotions as a woman. Imagine what it does to your psyche as a woman. Of course you're going to say no. Of course you're going to be the hero, the loyal wife, the loyal girlfriend, and say, "Oh no, I would never leave you. I'm staying with you." But little did you know that you're staying for more abuse, because you want to be the strong one. You want to be the one that you want to prove him that he made a right choice, because you think you can fix him. So that's another reason women stay, because they want to be his savior. And of course, fear. A lot of men are so aggressive with their abuse of a woman, and the relationship becomes so toxic that they're pretty good at fear mongering. They're pretty good at using fear and threats to keep a woman under control. The abuser would threaten to kill you, would threaten to kill your loved ones. And if you have children involved, they're also threatened to harm the children, to make a woman stay. And if a woman is a stay at home wife or she's financially dependent on him, she's also now under the threat of losing financial support. So in that case, where are you going to go? You're asking yourself, where are you going to go? How am I going to eat? How am I going to feed my kids? I might as well stay. So fear, right? Fear of him harming you, fear of bodily harm can keep somebody trapped. Fear and control of the fear of being killed, fear of being beaten, fear of him beating you or harming the children is a powerful thing, and it can keep a woman subdued and trapped, because she knows that the last time she tried to leave, what happened. So trying to leave an abuser can be dangerous at times, and it puts a lot of fear in a woman. And as I mentioned, children, a lot of women make the sacrifice to stay to protect their children, whether she's trying to protect them from harm, whether she's trying to protect their livelihood. you know I like this neighborhood, the children are happy in their school, they're happy with their friends. If I leave, I'm going to disturb their happiness and cause more trauma to them. I personally made the decision that I'm miserable, I'm happy, I'm going through all sorts of abuse, but I'm staying for my children, because I don't want my children to grow up in a broken family. I don't want my children to grow up going from one home to the other. I don't want my children to experience divorce. So I'm just going to stay until an older woman, wiser woman, told me to reconsider staying in an abusive relationship for the sake of the children. Because he may not abuse them, but when they grow up watching you getting beatings and being abused and being yelled at, that is also going to affect them. Because even though he may not physically be abusing them, but they're seeing the abuse, and they are experiencing the abuse along with you. So we make decisions to stay to protect the children, because what mother doesn't want to protect the children? So you endure years of physical and mental abuse for the sake of your children, because you don't want to face hardship, because you don't want to move, because you don't want to leave and not live in the same lifestyle, or because you don't want your children to experience the trauma of leaving their house and leaving their toys and leaving their things. So fear of losing custody, right? Fear that if you try to leave him, he will hurt the children or even kill them. You see the news. You see the stories of when, an abuser, excuse me, an abuser gets angry, and you hear where he shot the woman and he killed the children. It's all over the news so many times. So that type of fear also makes a woman want to stay. Another reason is confusion, because a lot of women who have never experienced abuse before don't even know what it looks like. You think that all these years of arguing and bickering, oh, that's fine. I can put up with that. The emotional name calling, you know, calling you stupid, calling you unattractive, telling you that you don't know how to do anything right. You can deal with that. Then comes the financial abuse, trying to control the money, trying to, make a big deal because you were not supposed to buy that purse. You put up with all of that because you think abuse is only hating, because the verbal abuse and the emotional abuse and the psychological abuse does not leave bruises. So you blame yourself. Oh, I triggered him, or I provoked him. Yeah, he was yelling and screaming, but it was my fault, right? Because you don't understand. Like me, I didn't understand the different types of abuse, the different forms that abuse can be in. And of course, another thing, since we're talking about confusion, is not knowing where to find safety and support, not knowing where to find resources, denial of not wanting to call the abuser, making excuses. Oh, he was stressed. He had a stressful day. Oh, I didn't have dinner ready on time. He had a bad day. He loves me in his own way. He likes to yell and punch the wall. That's his thing. But I know he loves me. Making excuses, being called whore, being called all kind of awful names, and just verbally damaging your self worth. The emotional abuse. Even if you don't get hit, just the constant emotional and psychological abuse can take a toll on a woman. Believe me, I know. And then when these things happen, many women blame themselves. It's my fault. I need to get it right. I need to lose weight. I need to make more money. I need to do this better. It's my fault because I was not in the mood the other night. It's my fault because I was all stressed out with the children and I was busy and I wasn't ready when he was ready. And the self blame continues, further causing emotional and psychological damage. And since we're talking about self worth, another reason is because some women's self worth, it's severely damaged from the so many years of maltreatment. A long time with abuse, mental, emotional abuse, self blame, causes a woman's self esteem to be so low to the point where to the point where she thinks she deserves to live like this, to the point where she thinks she deserves to have these things happen to her, to the point where she thinks she doesn't deserve a better life. Being a victim of domestic violence for a long time will cause a woman's self esteem, confidence, and self worth to be completely damaged. And they make excuses. We made excuses. I made excuses by trying to protect him because I did that. Because in many cases, women try to protect the men that abuse them. After facing abuse, they doubt themselves. We doubt ourselves. We blame ourselves. And doing that for a long time causes your self worth to be so diminished that you don't think that you can find better love, that you don't think you can find a better life. You resolve to living like this because your self worth is so damaged that you don't think there's anything better out there. And I'm not saying to go looking for a better partner. I'm saying that life as a whole can be better without the constant emotional and physical and psychological beatings. What about another reason that women stay? Their husbands, their partners may have a high social standing. He may have a high position in society. He may be well known. The family may be well known. He may be somebody in politics. He may be somebody who has some type of social or financial power and influence. It's embarrassing to be a well-known person in your community and go through all these things. When you marry a famous man, a successful man, or you both of your power couples and you're known in society, you hold a respectable position. He holds a respectable position in society. So the woman will put up with the abuse in silence, in fear, and how, if she speaks up, how that's going to impact the reputation. If the man or the couple is prominent in society, she's going to be afraid that no one's going to believe her because he's a powerful person. He's rich. He's in politics. No one will believe her, right? And of course, if she speaks up, then he's going to blame her for ruining his reputation. So that's another thing. And women in that situation end up feeling worthless and alone because who can you speak with? Who can you run to? Who can you go to when you're in such a high position, a prominent position, you're well known in society? How do you speak up? Many women in these situations go to their mothers, their own mothers, and say, he's doing this to me. And I've seen situations where the own mother will say something like, stay with your husband. Look at the big house you're living in. Look at the community you're living in. Look how well known you guys are. Stay with him and just work it out. That's what I don't know how mother-in-law sound when they speak with their daughters, but I'm gonna pause it right here, and I'm gonna come back in the next video, okay? Because we want to talk a little bit more about why women stay. Stay tuned.